Hello, it's Soul with another video, and now that we're in the new year, I figure it's time to talk about the near future of World of Warcraft and patch 9.1. Maybe. We're going to speculate on the when it'll be, followed by the what it will contain, but first, let's set this all up by not telling you to smash that like button and to subscribe, no, yes, but to stop and take a look at where we are right now, January of 2021. This week, the second of the 4 Raid Finder wings in Castle Nathria have opened. By all estimations, the twisting corridors of Torghast will have opened, which helps set the conclusion of the initial Shadowlands storyline. We've also reached the penultimate chapter of the Covenant campaign. Now, during the Battle for Azeroth regime, the PTR for patch 8.1 was announced in the middle of the Raid Finder schedule of Uldir, so there's definitely a chance that we'll hear more as soon as this week or the next coming weeks because, well, let's be sensible, we're just coming out of the holiday season. Whether Blizzard staff had been traveling or not, the pandemic rages on, possibly impacting productivity, and since Shadowlands' initial release was already delayed, there's no telling how that's going to affect the development cycle. So let's bring up some more milestones coming down the road. Next week we'll have concluded the Covenant campaign. February 2nd is when the final wing of Raid Finder opens, and historically, this is when Blizzard considers players to be pretty much on the same page, story-wise. BlizzConline takes place February 19th and 20th, and the max Covenant renown will finally reach its cap of 40 on March 9th. That same week, we'll also be experiencing the third of the 3 special events, or I guess brawls, in Torghast. It's called Unbridled Darkness, and unless I missed something, that should be everything that the patch 9.0 has to offer, so, way to go time gating. Maybe I'm being optimistic here, but despite some predictions that PTR news and stuff won't be dropping until BlizzConline, I have some serious doubts because that's a pretty long-ass time to wait. To be fair, not everyone is you, and by you, I'm talking to the people who've been burning the candle at both ends, grinding away at multiple alts, doing all the Covenant and stories and anima farming, the Torghast climbs, and all the etceteras. Seriously though, you can play the game however you like, but clearly Blizzard designed Shadowlands as an expansion to be savored and not, squeezed and chugged. Now let's look at the previous expansion's trends. Season 1 of Battle for Azeroth lasted for 20 weeks, but it could have been shorter. That's because patch 8.1 dropped on December 11th of that year, but the season didn't begin until January 22nd, 6 weeks later. Meanwhile, when patch 8.3 dropped January 14th of 2020, season 4 began only a week later. I think this is Blizzard's target, to make the patch, pack a punch, but give people a bit of a warm-up because, their classes probably got turned upside their head. But I don't mean the season is going to be shorter. If we count 18 weeks from the Shadowlands Season 1 launch date, we're going to be looking at April 13th as the start of Season 2, with a theoretical patch date of April 6th. And this isn't a very bad starting point to go with, because let's go back to the week of March 9th, when Renown reaches its cap, and we get to mess around with the final brawl, or whatever, of Torghast. That's going to mean 4 weeks of nothing new going on, and my quick guides are going to be like that much quicker. It's not unreasonable to presume that there could be breadcrumbs dropped within this time period, like a few phase changes, small quests or cinematics or out-game stuff, who knows. But 4 weeks is still 4 weeks, and 4 weeks is pretty darn long. April 6th is a kind of a good prediction, but as for what I would want patch 9.1 to drop 2 weeks earlier than that, like March 23rd. But this doesn't follow the usual trend. Typically, a major patch is in test for about 3 months, which doesn't really fit this model, and we get pushed back to this whole April 6th estimation. So let's review. If the PTR for patch 9.1 drops in the next week or two, it's going to mean we get some buzz over the next few weeks as builds deploy and news starts trickling in. BlizzConline will give patch 9.1 a stage to give a more complete public preview, and some cinematics and hypey things, Couple this with another expected big announcement, Classic Burning Crusade is what I'm talking about, and you automatically have a successful BlizzConline, at least where the World of Warcraft is concerned. So the TLDR is stay tuned. There might be some hypey stuff coming in real soon, and if not, well, crow tastes like duck, if my memory's right. Okay, so what might be in patch 9.1? New features, allied races, warrior buffs, player housing? Probably not. Sorry, warriors. But what we're gonna get, serious talk, what we're gonna get is the usual. We're gonna get a new season affix for Mythic Plus. We're gonna get a new raid, and because I don't consider speculation as much of a spoiler, I can definitely see us diving into a Maldraxxus themed raid. Or not. There are a lot of Shadowlands threads to explore that will send, it could send 10 to 30 players into an instance together. Less common predictions I hear about include the in-between, which I hope is more than an in-game excuse to make space between zones. Who are the first ones, and have we seen or heard of them before? Are we gonna kill them? I don't know. And then there's my personal favorite plot thread that involves Helya and Odin. I really want to explore that, although I would feel pretty bummed if they end up getting a small raid to conclude their beef. Characters like Tyrande are sort of nowhere to be found, and we don't yet know if the Rune Carver is the Primus plus fingers. But let's get back to talking about endgame systems. Time and time again, we've been reassured that unlike Battle for Azeroth, we're not going to see new systems stacked on top of old ones, but we're going to see expansions to what we already have. Looking back at the Shadowlands launch, obviously we can see some flaws and blemishes in class balance and the Maul, for example, but it's nothing as heartbreaking as the flub that was Azerite gear. If we're going to see more of what we have, we can probably expect more of what ties it together, which is Renown. We're probably not going to see another 40 ranks, but it really depends on how much of the Renown-related features will also be expanded upon. So let's strip these Renown goodies down to the bare necessities. Let's presume that we're not going to expect any titles or mounts or cosmetics or followers to come from Renown. Maybe a nice little stamina bonus similar to the artifact weapons of yore, but what do we have left? Soulbind rows are probably a safe bet to start with. We can probably expect more of those. That's also going to mean more traits and or conduit slots. But it wouldn't surprise me if Blizzard were to play it safe and added the same type of conduit slot across like all the soulbinds, and it'll probably be a finesse or an endurance slot, because if it was a potency conduit slot, you would hear a lot of bitching over balance. Let's not pretend that it would go either way. Conduit levels would have a raised cap, no surprises there. As for additional soulbinds, as in like a 4th soulbind per covenant, I think that's a tougher sell. I haven't seen conduit energy be an issue, but let's be fair, as of this writing, we're only working with 2 soulbinds. 3 might cause an issue. Imagine wrangling 4. I can see growth of some Covenant Sanctum features, but not too much. I don't see the travel network going anywhere, get it? The mission table might have tougher missions and new rewards, but nothing related to upgrading it, I don't think. I can see an expansion of the Anima Conductor, but I also see this sort of daily content, with the Covenant Sanctum, as something that Blizzard is okay for you to eventually move on from. If anything is going to be expanded in 9.1 or future patches, it would be the Covenant activity. More rewards to farm and gather and fight for. Or there could be a brand new Sanctum feature to upgrade, like what if there was a new zone? A Covenant feature could be like activating a zone buff or an ability, summoning a bodyguard or more. Chances of this happening are slim to none, and it really depends on where 9.1 content will take place, like if there's another realm that we visit, or if an existing zone is going to have more stuff added, but flight can, and I think it should come in 9.1. Because Blizzard screwed it up in BFA, in my opinion at least, because they held off on flight until patch 8.2, but they lumped Pathfinder into both 8.1 and 8.2 content when really that wasn't necessary at all, seeing as how patch 8.2 added nothing to BFA's launch zones. I both predict and want 9.1 to have flying. This is regardless of how I feel about actual flying, I think it just feels right. Maybe Renown 41 will unlock flight or something, and if 9.1 happens to be some weird, janky realm that restricts flight, oh well, so be it, just let me fly in those old zones. Class changes are coming, whether you like them or not. I'm pretty sure that Fury Warriors are absolutely fine. Same thing for Assassination Rogues. Just messing, I'm just trying to get a rise out of you guys in the comments. Legendaries are obviously going to be more powerful, but while I would love to see more unique kinds of legendaries added, I want to see the equip limit be raised as well, from 1 to something higher than 1. What sort of new synergies could we think of? Probably all sorts, especially because it's now expected that set bonuses are going to be making a return as well, likely in 9.1 content. How it's going to be implemented is anyone's guess when we consider Mythic Plus and PvP gear, but since we're talking about legendaries as well, I strongly suggest to Blizzard that to avoid the pain of slot locking, something that Blizzard's been bitching about, where we reserve a gear slot for a certain piece and we have to work around that, how about we let legendaries act like a wild card and let it count towards a set bonus, similar to the Ring of Royal Grandeur in Diablo 3. This particular legendary in Diablo 3 reduces the number of items needed to fulfill a set bonus by 1 to a minimum of 2. So what that means is, if you have 3 set pieces and a legendary, or this particular legendary, you're going to get the 4 set bonus. If you have 5 pieces, you get the 6 piece bonus, and so on and so forth. However, if you only have 1 set piece and this legendary, it's not going to count towards a bonus. But in my opinion, feature-wise, what needs the most work would be Torghast and the Maw. The Maw has some glaring issues, particularly with the rotating hunt, but those are bug fixes. But what I feel is really lacking about the zone is there's no semblance of progression and context to really feel it. Now, the Maw does start as this limited zone, and then it opens up as you get more of that sweet Venari rep, but a good chunk of players are going to be done with that by 9.1. I don't mind the slower pace of progression, but for example, I would love to see this campaign where Darian Mograine regroups his fellow Death Knights and they make an actual foothold in the Maw. And instead of sneaking around like a punk bitch, we help defend this area from a flow of bad guys and rares and other things. But also we venture out to gather some much needed supplies, that sort of thing. Okay, now I'm getting excited. So imagine this. We're tasked to get a bunch of mount harnesses or something behind enemy lines, and once we do so, we pass them around to our buddies, and we temporarily unlock this daily quest where we hop onto one of these mounts and we just lay waste to the enemy. It'll feel pretty cool. But every couple of days, or maybe during the weekly reset, the jailer's forces will wear down the Ebon Blade. That quest gets disabled and we have to help build them up again, only instead of mounts, maybe we make a giant robot made of rune blades. I don't know, something like that would be kind of cool. As for Torghast, speaking just for me, I love the gameplay, but even I struggle to stay motivated to play it beyond getting the Soul Ash and whatever the Twisting Corridors is going to have to offer. And frankly, it's got to step up. I've been saying this since the freaking alpha, but it needs its own take on an endless/impossible mode to challenge players, as well as a leaderboard mostly for bragging rights. So here's an example. Let's pretend that you're at the end of your 6 or 18 floor climb. Once you reach the end, you're asked if you want to exit or if you want to keep climbing. If you do keep climbing, you no longer gain any more anima powers. Enemies continue to scale. Torments continue to build, and your personal challenge now is to climb as high as you can before the terror group kicks your ass out. And then you get thrown into this leaderboard based on your group size or class, all so you can talk smack to the rabble. I hear about other versions of an endless mode, but just getting unlimited anima powers and climbing unlimited floors means only boredom is going to make you stop, and when boredom is part of your design, that just doesn't sound right. However, challenge isn't the only thing, or even the best thing for Torghast. Torghast also needs something tangible to give everyone else some reason to go back. One answer lies with the reward system from Island Expeditions. We can pretty much lift that, drop that into Torghast, and then suddenly player behavior will change dramatically. At least that's what I predict. Because now Torghast is going to be farmed for currency that lets you buy stuff from a rotating vendor, whether it's a loot box or a direct item, cosmetics, pets, and so on and so forth. And of course, the higher layer that you run, the more currency or the more cosmetic stuff that drops. Doing this is going to help Torghast become a mainstay in the World of Warcraft and not just an expansion feature. But let's not forget expanding on it too with new anima powers and floor types and bosses and mobs and more. I want to wrap this up with a reminder that everything in today's video is speculative. For example, who's to say that 9.1 is coming out at all? We might get an announcement of a 9.0.5 in light of development setbacks, or maybe this was their plan all along. Maybe we'll suddenly jump into a new expansion where we find out that Shadowlands was just a dream and we're still in Nyalotha. But I would like to hear your thoughts and predictions, maybe your wish list of what you'd like to see in a future patch, or have you already lost all hope? Thanks for watching and listening, and don't forget to like this video if it was entertaining, and to subscribe for more of this and all things Warcraft. We'll see you next time. Until then, stay safe, stay healthy, and stay breezy.